Hello, YouTube friends, enjoyers of outdoor good times. If you've ever been sitting around waiting patiently for the next cool rifle video to drop, go ahead and like the video. Give me a thumbs up because today we are going to be talking about survival rifles for the prepared citizen. And what do we mean by survival rifles? Well, as usual, we're going to define the context. Usually, when people think of survival rifles, they think of something small, packable, lightweight, usually of a small caliber or cartridge, and often of the takedown or, in some cases, folding variety. A couple examples that we're going to talk about today encompass pretty much all of those principles. And we're going to talk about a couple examples that I don't necessarily have myself, but are also out there available and cool options, in my opinion. But the first one we're going to talk about is this adorable little thing, the Marlin Papoose, an adorable name for an adorable rifle. And the word papoose has lots of rich historical and cultural context that I would invite you to go look up. But in this case, this is the survival rifle, also known as the 70P SS. The SS denotes the stainless steel variant. Now, the original one, which did come out, I believe, in 1986, had a wood stock and was blued. I believe that was just the 70P. And then in the mid 90s, they released the 70P SS, which is the one I have right here. This one's been fitted with a pretty janky El Cheapo aftermarket. I think that's like a Barska. I think it was maybe a couple of bucks, honestly. I got it from cdnnsports.com for literally a couple of dollars. I am not making that up. So before that, I did get lots of rounds in with the actual iron sights, which it does have a very prominent orange front sight there, and then kind of a, I don't know, what do you call that, buckhorn rear style. But the scope actually works pretty decent for being a couple of bucks, and it is sighted in and zeroed. Now, the thing I like about the Papoose is it does come with the sling attachments. And the cool thing about the Papoose is since it stows away in this bag, which you'll probably see in some added B-roll and or the opening montage, but this is an Allen case. And being that it just kind of sits in there, I was able to add an optic to it, which is not going to be kind of, I guess, convenient in the next example I'm going to show you. But just to finish up on the Papoose, it does have a 7-round tiny little magazine here, just this little guy. Just goes in like that. Then this little release here releases it like so. And then it's got this little thing here to release the bolt, this little thing here. And it does have a cross bolt safety. So, and triggers about what you would expect in a little survival deal like this. And it's pretty cool, the Marlin Papoose. So that's the first one we're going to talk about. The second one, which the Marlin Papoose was released in the 80s to directly compete with this, is the classic AR-7. Developed by Eugene Stoner in the 50s, just like our favorite America's rifle, which is my favorite rifle, the M16 or AR-15, if you will, platform. But this is the AR-7, also developed by Eugene Stoner. Originally manufactured by Armalite. Then I think, once Armalite was kind of done doing their deal, the design rights were purchased by a company called like Charter Arms. And then it was like Survival Arms, and none of those were really known for their reliability or performance. And then eventually, of course, Henry Rifle was able to obtain the rights to it, and the rest is history. And now the Henry Rifle Company, Henry Repeating Arms, excuse me, now manufactures the AR-7. They have different camo patterns available, and of course, the actual feature of the AR-7 is the fact that it takes down, and all the components get stored in the buttstock. It's somewhat watertight-ish, although it's not necessarily completely watertight. And it takes down, and these the 7-round magazines are available. Are these 8-round? I can never remember. I only have the 2 that fit in the buttstock, and I'm perfectly good with that. I do like that it does have this kind of hunter orange in here for visibility when you are taking it apart or assembling it accordingly. Now, what I was referring to earlier, that the thing that I like about the Papoose as opposed to the Henry is that the Papoose stores in a bag. Now, I think going in the buttstock is really cool on the Henry, but it doesn't really give you an option for mounting an optic and still stowing it away. Now, if you wanted to keep it permanently assembled, I guess you could use that little, polymer, if you will, rail there to get you an optic. But let's go ahead and talk about the rifle a little bit and go through it tip to butt. See, I don't really have that on there very well, do I? But it does have, I can't remember the length of the barrel. Maybe I'll put it up there after the fact. The barrel does thread into the receiver. The receiver actually bolts into the buttstock here through this tiny little screw. And it's about as simple as that. This does have a safety lever here, and the bolt charger is right here, and it is retractable to stow it away for sleekness. And the magazine release is right here. Magazine simply inserts like so, and then you can see the full profile with the magazine inserted, and then of course just press that in, pull out, and that's it. The Henry AR7. Now, one of the examples of this that I don't have that I think is kind of cool would be the Ruger 1022 variants. I do have a couple of Ruger 1022s. They're just not the takedown kind, but Ruger has a couple different variants of that, one being the Magpul stock one. I think there's a couple other variants out there from other aftermarket manufacturers as well. And then I would also make the argument that one rifle that I have, the Stevens Model 15, a classic antique firearm I inherited from my grandfather, could be thought of as a survival rifle, being that it's a bolt action single shot 22, but it takes down to about less than 20 inches overall with one single screw, and I would consider that a survival rifle. Anyway, that was it for the survival concept today. There's a few other examples out there I can think of, ones that have a single shot 22 and a single shot 410, which are kind of cool too. And I don't have one of those, but we're going to keep the rifle series going for a while. We haven't ran out of rifles yet, and we did have a little bit of a lull. I did get a community guidelines strike, which was kind of weird a couple of days ago, even though I hadn't posted in like 10 days, and it was from some old video from 37 millimeter stuff where I showed my 37 millimeter just attached to my M4, and I got a community strike for firearms content, which is kind of funny because that's all I do now. So anyway, take care, y'all. Stay safe.